Welcome to today's Daily Walk in Wisdom, where we're approaching the end of the book of Job, where we're gaining for ourselves so much wisdom when it comes to the subject of trials and struggles and suffering. And that is when you need to be at the top of your game when it comes to wisdom, because really the wisdom of God is there to help us get through life here on earth. When we're in heaven, we will see all things as they truly are. We will see him as he is. Yeah, so it's for now that we need to find wisdom when we're going through this trial of life that we have, so that we can pass the test and run our race and win the prize. We're in Job today. We're in Job chapter 40, and we're looking at verses 1 through to 5. The Lord said to Job, "Will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let him who accuses God answer him." And then Job answered the Lord, "I'm unworthy. How can I reply to you? I put my hand over my mouth. I put my hand over my mouth. I spoke once, but I have no answer. Twice, but I will say no more." Job is coming out the other side now. This is a precarious time, and hence why God is using such firm language. When you'd expect God to be treading carefully, just when you'd expect a gentle touch, Job has been through a struggle, so you'd expect God to be all gentle and comforting. When you expect God to speak softly, God comes on strong. Now, the art of life is to find your way out of trouble without being left in trauma. Because trouble has an expiration date, but trauma can last till the day you die. And so it becomes essential that Job does not carry his wounds into the next stage of his life. So God is not going to nurse Job through this time. God is going to bring about an act of surgery, an incision, whereby he can cut off the past from Job's now, from Job's entrance into his destiny. We speak about the next chapter of our life as though it's going to open up to a whole new panorama, a whole new stage. But what do you do when for 36 chapters of your life, the next chapter is just more of the same? You wake up each day hoping that this day is going to be the day that my life will change. But after 10 years of trouble, that hope becomes nothing more than a taunting jibe. Job wanted answers, but God doesn't give him any answers. And that's not just the case with Job. It's often the case with you and with me. Because when I look at all the trouble that I've been through in my life, and when I've asked God, why did I have to go through all this? Again, he chooses to be silent. And the real issue becomes, can you trust God when he doesn't answer? Can you trust him when he doesn't answer? Can you say, though he slay me, yet will I trust him? Because we want answers, and we grow up wanting answers, and we go to school and they ask us for answers, and if you get the answer right, then they'll reward you. And so we grow up thinking that there's always going to be an answer, but sometimes life serves up stuff where there is no appropriate answer. And the point God is making here in our text is, it's a dangerous thing to search for answers when you're suffering. It's like trying to diagnose the nature of a fire when you're in the middle of a bushfire. It's like trying to understand the wind when a tornado is tearing apart your house. The most important thing is surviving the danger. You have to make it to the other side and then ask your questions in retrospect. If you ask the wrong questions at the wrong time, then you're not going to come up with healthy answers. That's if you can work out any answers at all. And the frustration over unanswered questions becomes a distraction, because really, what difference does it make to know why when you're dealing with a what? You can't worry about why. You're too busy dealing with what. Somebody comes to you for help and says their marriage is falling apart, and you want to know why and what's gone wrong and how could that be happening. And you say, well, if you'd stopped doing that back then it wouldn't be happening this way now. But none of that really matters now. Someone's in trouble now. Let's get through now. And then, once we're through the trouble, maybe we'll be able to work out why and how. Maybe we can work that out later, but let's just get through now. You need to deal with the problem, and surviving must take preeminence over understanding why. Sometimes you have to settle for a walk in the dark, to walk by faith and not by sight. And St. John of the Cross called it the dark night of the soul. Do not ask God when you're in the dark night of the soul. Do not ask God to appeal to your intellect. Don't look for intellectual, rational answers when you're in the dark night of the soul, because that is not going to solve anything. In fact, it could be the most dangerous thing that you're entering into, to try to find out a rational answer for your dark night. Because what you're doing is you're asking God to appeal to your intellect, and you're asking him to come down to your level. His thoughts are above your thoughts. His ways are above your ways. He's trying to get you up to where he is, not to have you bring him down to where you are. He doesn't have to come down to our level and explain himself. He's God. And when you're in trouble, when you're faced with a mountain, God isn't interested in intellectual answers. He's interested in your faith. He's interested in your obedience. Faith is proven in obedience, and obedience is proven best when you don't understand. When a parent tells their child to clean up the room, the child doesn't get to ask why, because the only sufficient answer when a parent asks a child to clean up the room is, because I told you so. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Obedience is better than understanding. God is trying to get us to obey him when we're in the dark, because he knows the way out of the dark space and the dark place. God wants us to know that pruning isn't punishment, that you're not cursed because you're just having a bad day. Suffering doesn't mean that he's punishing you. Suffering and punishment may feel the same, but they're not the same. The intention between pruning and punishment is quite alternate. Pruning is the product of having something of value. In a previous era, they would talk about the death of a saint as going to their reward. My father passed away a little while ago, not too long ago, but just a little while ago, and he went to his reward. That's what I used to tell him. You're going to your reward, Dad. He went to his reward. Now, likewise, pruning is a reward. It's how God lets you know that you are valued, because God wouldn't prune a weed. Nobody prunes weeds. He prunes you because you're a fruitful vine. The problem is that pruning often feels like punishment. And if you're not careful, you will interpret it as punishment. But a surgeon doesn't cut to kill you. He cuts to heal you. We have to avoid looking at suffering from our limited point of view and look at it from God's perspective. We cannot see what God can see. We can see to the horizon, but God can see beyond the horizon. We can see to the corner, but God can see around the corner. And if you will trust him when all hell is breaking loose, if you trust him when the tears are running down your face, if you trust him through a bad season, if you trust him through a storm, he will bring you through. Jesus said, which of your sons asks for bread? If he asked for bread, which of you, if your sons ask for bread, would give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, would give him a snake? If you then, though you're going through all of your evil ways, if you know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father give what you need to his children? Give what is necessary to his children. God knows what you need. You got to trust that. God knows what you need. The Father knows best. Even when you don't like what you need, God knows you need it. So trust him. Trust him. I just pray right now, no matter how dark your path may seem, that you will trust in God and put your hand into his hand and let him guide you through the valley. Guide him through the valley. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Guide you through the shadows. Guide you through the darkness. I will fear no evil. You don't need to be afraid. God give you courage. For thou, O Lord, art with me. I know, God, that you're with us right now. Yes, and that your rod and your staff, boy, we may not like the feeling of your rod and your staff when they come to us, but nevertheless they serve us and they guide us and they lead us through. So I just pray that God's guidance will lead you through and whatever is necessary to get you through and to bring you out the other side, and that you'll see that the end is better than the beginning. God bless you. We'll see you again tomorrow. We'll see you again tomorrow for more wisdom from the very deep and meaningful book of Job.